Hi, fifth graders. Welcome to Chapter 8, Lesson 2. This is called Problem Solve, Use Multiplication, and it can be found on page 497 in our textbook. The standard for today is in Number and Operations Fractions 5.7. This standard states I can apply and extend previous understandings of division to divide unit fractions by whole numbers and whole numbers by unit fractions to solve real-world problems. So today, when we do all of our division problems, we are going to be taking a whole number and we are going to be dividing it by a fraction. Our essential question is asking, how can the strategy draw a diagram help you solve fraction division problems by writing a multiplication sentence? So we are going to do the drawing a diagram for a few of the problems. However, once we get used to the division aspect of the problem, we're going to stop drawing those pictures and we're just going to use division and change it into multiplication to help us solve. So under Unlock the Problem, it says Erica makes 6 submarine sandwiches and cuts each sandwich into thirds. How many 1/3 size sandwich pieces does she have? So we need to make sure that we are understanding what the question is asking us. So what do I need to find? Well, if I look back up at the question, it says that we are going to try to find how many 1/3 size sandwich pieces she has. So I need to find the number of 1/3 sized sandwich pieces Now, what information do I need to use? So I need to make sure I need to use the size of each piece of sandwich and the number of sandwiches she cuts. And then how will I use the information? Again, the strategy is to draw a diagram, so I can draw a diagram to organize the information from the problem. Then I can use the organized information to find the number of 1/3 size sandwiches So now notice up under solve the problem we have 6 rectangles that are cut into 3 equal sections. The 6 rectangles representing the 6 submarine sandwiches that she has. And if you recall from the question, it's stating that she is cutting them into thirds. Therefore, if she's cutting them into thirds, each sandwich needs to be cut into 3 equal pieces. So that is why we now have 6 sandwiches all cut up into 3 equal pieces. So to find the number of thirds in 6 rectangles, I can multiply the number of thirds of each rectangle by the number of rectangles. So obviously, there are 3 thirds that are created with each sandwich. Now, we could just count how many thirds total and then show that answer. Or we know because there are 6 sandwiches and each sandwich was cut into thirds, that means each sandwich 3 equal pieces, and 6 times 3 is 18. Now, eventually, we are not going to want to solve this using a diagram. And what we do when we divide a whole number by a fraction, or a fraction by a whole number, or a fraction by a fraction, is we do something that is called taking the reciprocal. So when you take the reciprocal, flip the second number in the division problem. And then change it into a multiplication problem. So in this question, my original division problem was 6 divided by 1/3. Well, you cannot divide fractions. And so in order to be able to solve this, we actually have to change all division problems with fractions into a multiplication problem. And that's where the second number in the division problem comes in. So this is the divisor that I am going to take the reciprocal of. So when I take the reciprocal, I flip the numerator and the denominator. So when I flip this fraction, I went from 1/3 to 3 over 1. We know that 3 over 1 is equal to 3. And so because my 6 is a whole number, I don't need that denominator of 1 anymore. So I'm just going to show now that my multiplication problem is set up 6 times 3, and that gives me 18. And if you recall, up from the picture, if I counted each of those 1/3 size sections, I have 6 sandwiches, each into 1/3 size sandwiches. Now make 18 of those 1/3 size sandwiches. So my final answer, Erica has 18 1/3 size sandwich pieces. So now I'm going to go to the next page. We're going to try another problem. Again, we're going to show with the picture model, and then after that, we'll try to wean ourselves away from having that picture model and just show the division. So Roberto is cutting 3 blueberry pies into halves to give his neighbors. How many neighbors will get half of a pie? So, what information do I need to find? I need to find the number of neighbors that will get half of a pie. So now what information do I need to use to solve this? So I need to know that the pies will be cut in half. And there are 3 pies. And then how will I use the information? Well, I am going to draw a diagram to solve. So now, I'm going to draw 3 circles to represent the 3 pies. And if you recall, it says that each neighbor will receive half of a pie, so I need to cut those pies in half. Now, obviously, I could just count the number of halves that I have, but eventually we will not have our picture diagram to help us solve. So to set up the division problem, I started with 3 pies. I divided each pie into half-size pieces. I'm going to rewrite this as a multiplication problem. My first number stays the same. Change the operation sign to a times. And then we are going to flip the second number, or take its reciprocal. So that means the 2 is now in the numerator, the 1 is in the denominator. So therefore, since I have a 1 in the denominator, I'm just going to write the whole number 2. And we know that 3 times 2 equals 6. So again, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by drawing the diagram, or doing the division, taking the reciprocal of the second number to change it into a multiplication problem. I do have the answer of 6 half-size pieces. So therefore, there will be 6 neighbors who get half of a pie. Moving on to the next page for the Sharon Show. This is going to be the last problem that I'll show the picture model. After that, I'm just going to show the division. Number 1, a chef has 5 blocks of butter. Each block weighs 1 pound. She cuts each block into fourths. How many 1/4 pound pieces of butter does the chef have? So I am going to draw 5 rectangles to represent the 5 blocks of butter. And then in the story problem, it says she's cutting those blocks into fourths. So therefore, I need to divide each of these rectangles into fourth-sized pieces. So I could count all of my 1/4 size pieces that I created, or I am going to also show the division problem where I took those 5 blocks of butter, divided them into 1/4 size pieces, change that to its multiplication problem, so the first number always stays the same, write your times sign, and then we are going to flip or take the reciprocal of the second number, so 4/1 just equals 4, and then 5 times 4 does give us 20. So therefore, the chef has 20 1/4 pound pieces of butter. Moving on to question number 2. What if the chef had 3 blocks of butter and cut the blocks into thirds? How many 1/3 pound pieces of butter would the chef have? So I am only going to show this using our division. So we are starting with 3 full blocks of butter, dividing them into 1/3 pound pieces. Change that to its multiplication problem. First number stays the same, times, flip the second number, so 3/1 equals 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. So we have 9, and then our label is 1/3 pound pieces. Make sure if you would rewrite that label out, it doesn't look like 9 and 1/3, that you can actually tell that the 9 is what is your final answer. The 1/3 pound pieces is what you would have as your label. Number 3, Holly cuts 3 ribbons into 8s for a craft project. How many 1/8 size pieces of ribbon does she have? So we are starting with 3 pieces, dividing them into 1/8 size pieces. Change that to our multiplication problem. So 3 times the reciprocal of 1/8 is 8. And 3 times 8 is 24. that is the answer, and our label would be 1/8 size pieces. You could even be more specific and say of ribbon, but really 1/8 size pieces would work for a label. Number 4, Jason has 2 pizzas that he cuts into fourths. How many 1/4 size pizza slices does he have? So our 2 pizzas that he started with, divided by 1/4 size sections. Change that to our multiplication problem to find how many sections there are. So 2 times the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4 equals 8, and then that means he would have 8 1/4 size pizza slices. Number 5, Thomas makes 5 sandwiches that he cuts into thirds. How many 1/3 size sandwich pieces does he have? So starting with the 5 sandwiches, dividing each of those sandwiches into thirds to find the number of pieces there are now. 5 times the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3, and that would give me 15 of the 1/3 size sandwich pieces. So now, on our homework, you do not have to show the diagram. You do, however, have to write down what the division problem is, change it to its multiplication problem. So, for example, number 1, they wrote down the division problem. They wrote down how to change it to its multiplication problem, and then write down the answer. You do not have to worry about putting the label. The label is already in Schoology for you. So everything that I have underlined, like on number 1, that is what you would need to write on the line. So on the front, you are going to be doing questions 2 through 5. So again, write the division problem, change it to its multiplication problem, and then give us the final answer. We are not doing question number 6. On the back, you will do all questions. So numbers 1 and 2 are obviously just from this lesson. So number 1, Julia has 12 pieces of fabric and cuts each piece into fourths. How many 1/4 pieces of fabric does she have? Make sure you are showing the division problem, show the new multiplication problem, and then give me the answer. Same with number 2. Josu has 3 chicken pot pies that he cuts into thirds. How many 1/3 size chicken pot pies pieces does he have? Show the division, show the multiplication, and give the final answer. Number 3 says write a related multiplication sentence that could help you find the quotient of 6 divided by 1/4. So this on Schoology will be a multiple choice question. Please make sure you are finding the correct multiplication problem that shows 6 divided by 1/4. Number 4, Ellie uses 12.5 pounds of potatoes to make mashed potatoes. She uses 1/10 as many pounds of butter as potatoes. How many pounds of butter does Ellie use? So we know that she's starting with 12.5. We know that taking 1/10 of something is multiplying by 1/10, or to make it even easier on us, multiplying by 1/10 is the same as dividing by 10. And for this, we know that we can swoop our decimal. If you recall, dividing tells me to swoop left. The 0 and the 10 tells me how many swoops to do, and we always swoop from our decimal. Question number 5 Tiffany collects perfume bottles. She has 99 bottles in her collection. 2/3 of her perfume bottles are made of crystal. How many of the perfume bottles in Tiffany's collection are made of crystal? So we're starting with the 99 bottles. We know that 2/3 of that collection is crystal. So we are going to be multiplying by 2/3. So I need to make sure I have 99 over 1. If I was you, I would cancel before multiplying, and then make sure you TiVo to get a whole number final answer. And number 6, Stephen buys a melon and divides it into 6 servings. He eats 1/3 of the melon over the weekend. How many slices of melon does Stephen eat over the weekend? So, ladies and gentlemen, this one, it might be beneficial if you do draw a picture of the melon. So I'm going to have a circle to represent the melon, and I'm going to divide this into 6 equal pieces. So I have 6 pieces right here. I can tell that if I would break this up into 3 equal sections, then because he's eating 1/3 of that, I am going to be taking 6 over 1 times 1 over 3 to get this answer. Again, you can cancel or do top times top, bottom times bottom, and then simplify to get your final answer. So you can either color the picture in to figure out how many slices would make up 1/3, or do the multiplication. If you have any questions on this homework assignment, let us know. Thanks.